So let's uncover some of those things. 4 questions. Number 1, what do I think about most? I want you to ask yourself the question, what do I think about most? As a human being, not as a professional, what do I think about most? So I want you to start there. We'll tie them all together in a minute, but write them down. What do I think about most? Number 2, what 3 things in life do I fear most? And if you're a person who's like, I don't fear anything, or I don't fear losing anything, you're a liar. Write 3 things down. What 3 things in life do you fear, or do you fear losing most? Question 3, if you could do 2 things the rest of your life and be totally satisfied, no rules, no restrictions, you have all the money in the world, you're fine, you're taken care of, but you could just do 2 things, what are those 2 things? And then question number 4, what is 1 thing in life you hope to accomplish? Not the one thing, I'm not looking for end all be all. I mean, if you know that, write it down, but I'm assuming we don't. What is just 1 thing in life you want to accomplish? And here's the reason I ask you those 4 questions. Because here's how the human brain works. I'm going to let you know a little secret. By secret, I mean pause long enough and you'll figure it out for yourself. Question number 1 is, what do I think about most? So number 1 is thoughts. Question number 2, what are 3 things you fear? That's fears. If I could do two things, what would they be? That's my hopes. And if I could accomplish 1 thing with that, what's my dreams? So what you're going to assess here is your thoughts, fears, hopes, and dreams. Now, don't think in that context. I'll ask you to answer the question, okay? Answer the question. Because here's how your brain works, right? Now, and I'll use myself, or I'll pick on somebody to use as an example, because I want you to think about it like this. Whatever you think about most in number 1, this is how our brain works. Whatever you think about most in number 1 is directly related to what you fear in number 2. Whatever you fear losing, I guarantee you what you think about most every day is related to those things not going away. I fear losing my identity. I fear losing my money. I fear losing my influence. And I fear losing mattering to people. So I bet you guess what you think about when you wake up. What am I going to drive? What am I going to look like? Where am I going to go? Who's going to listen to me? Who's going to believe me? Who's going to write me a check? All day, every day, on repeat. Why? Because what you think about most is related to what you fear. So then I go to number 3 and I go, but if you could do anything, what would you do? What are the 2 things you do? And typically they're not related to those fears. They're related to if the fear was gone, what would you do? You'd say, I'd quit playing ball because you know what? It's good and it's great and it has great money, but I'm not into it. I really want to spend and dedicate my life because I had a friend who had this thing, who did this, and I want to support that. If I could give anything, I'd spend my time in front of this or in front of kids or in front of whoever it is. Okay. And then number 4, what would you accomplish? You'd say, I want to be a person in my life who has distinct influence, that had an incredible impact and left a legacy that far broke any generational curse in my life is what I want to do. Okay, great. So then stop going 1, 2, 3, 4 and start going 4 through 2, 1. If what you really want to do is number 4, why do you not think about that every day? Why do you not wake up every day and go, how am I going to break the generational curse in my life? You're worried about how someone's going to look at you as opposed to how you're going to be remembered, as opposed to the thing that you could leave. And I bet if you thought about number 4 most, I bet you'd do more of number 3. I'm not saying you don't exercise. I'm not saying don't work out. I'm not saying don't be an athlete. I'm not saying don't do what you got to do to make your check or whatever that is. All I'm saying is if that's the thing that you want most, but you don't think about that most, I don't believe you. Because if you thought about number 4 most, you'd do more of number 3. And if you did more of number 3, you'd be less fearful of 2. It would dramatically change what you think about it number 1. And all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you go, I think I know who I am. I think I have the ability to figure that out. I think I can set a precedent for who I am and what I'm going to do. Why? Because you're going to spend less time looking out the window and you're going to spend more time looking in the mirror.